Hello, fellow adventurers. I'm Lewis Nichols, but no big intro today. Instead, we're going to dive right in. This is my 5-minute guide to character classes for new players. What better place to start than the good old reliable fighter? I like 5e fighters. You can gain multiple attacks relatively early in leveling. Your effectiveness isn't tied to given weapons, and you have lots of feats and subclasses to specialize your character to your taste. They don't necessarily keep up with spellcasters in the late game, but not too many games go that far anyway. As a fighter, your job is to soak up damage and deal it back. That's not to say there's not strategy to it. There are great choices that you will have to make along the way, but it is a relatively simple class to start your D&D career with. Next, Rangers. Rangers, they're not great in 5e. However, if you're doing a lot of woodland adventures, and if travel matters, they do have a role to fill. And if you just feel like playing a ranger, go for it. They're plenty good enough to keep you engaged in the game. As a ranger, you might be the stealth guy in wilderness conditions. You might be the mobile archer sniper. In urban conditions or underground, you still have the martial ability and spells to have a lot of fun. Number 3 on my list is the Barbarian. I think barbs are one of the exceptional classes of 5e. They are relatively easy to play, they are hard to kill, and they can deal out damage on par with their melee counterparts. This is not ancient D&D. Your Barbarian does not have an unnatural fear of magic and can travel freely with Arcane Casters. Your subclasses enhance immersion while contributing to your role as a battlefield badass. Best of all, you can really just turn your brain off for these guys and engage beast mode. Another strong class is the Paladin. They have access to armor and weapons of all grades. They are half-casters with spells and abilities to buff themselves and those around them. You might be the face of your party, the knight in shining armor. Play the class well, and no NPC will ever question your honor. You can be a tank on the front line in combat, an invaluable member to the team with plenty of time in the spotlight. Number 5 on the list, the Monk. Sorry, but facts are facts, and monks are one of the weaker classes in D&D. They might be the most DM-buffed class in the game, just to make them not suck. Now, they don't lag so far behind that you completely ruin the experience by playing one. If you're really excited about playing a monk, go for it. Engage your key energy and have a stunning time. And maybe try talking to your DM about giving you some extra key points. Number 6 is the Bard. This might be my favorite class, but mostly for my own visions of what a bard can be. They are a great utility and support character with loads of skills. You'll have the opportunity to pass out buffs and healing to your fellow adventurers. If you like the spotlight, bards give you a roadmap to all the attention you can handle. All the same, if you want to keep it simple, this class is a strong mix of passive role-playing, combat effectiveness, and battlefield control. Next up, Rogues. This is 5e's other skill-heavy class, but in many ways the opposite of bards. Rogues are sneaks, your spies, infiltrators, or thieves. They thrive from anonymity and stick to the shadows. In your adventuring party, you'll be the master of stealth, the guy who handles locked doors. Rogues are reliable damage dealers as well. As a player, you might develop an entire network of underground trade and information sources. You might just end up running your own thieves guild. Now we have Clerics. 5e went to a lot of work to make sure that they're a good character to play. They aren't just healers. I played one in a 20th level one-shot a few weeks ago. My character was just a plain Jane 20th level Cleric, and he was one of the strongest characters on the field. He dealt more damage than most, kept everyone alive, and took care of his own self-defense. Clerics are infinitely customizable with strong melee builds, spell-based options, and all roads in between. In addition, depending upon your DM, you might have inroads to the campaign's political scene via your church, and a real ability to create change in your campaign setting. Number 9 is the Druid. Everybody thinks of Wild Shape when they think of Druids, but be careful, this isn't a movie, it's not a video game. The ability in tabletop is far more subdued, rules as written, and I'd say most DMs aren't ready to expand that ability. Druids are already pretty good. They are full casters with access to a great spell list. They are strong in battlefield control magic and AoE effects. Finally, they can hold their own in melee even without turning into a bear. Next is the Artificer. I feel like this is one of the underdeveloped classes of 5e. They had some good ideas, but failed to flesh them out completely. However, if you have a vision, talk to your DM, and between the two of you, there are some really strong possibilities here. They're a little off kilter for what you might consider a more traditional fantasy class. Maybe they're going to be using firearms or handmade magical devices. I think their biggest possibility is affecting the world as enchanters and engineers, leaving a legacy of clock towers and automatons. We'll finish with our Arcane Casters, starting with the Wizard. I see this as the most relatable caster to the old school Magic user players. These guys opt out of the Votech and go straight to university. They study, quest, and research, all for the sake of filling their spellbooks to the brim. And it pays off. They have a huge versatility in spells to choose from. They have a tool to solve any problem. Second is the Warlock. This class is far more restricted in what they can do, but what they have, they can use very well. They rely more on upcasting and will lean heavily into cantrip use. However, they get their spell slots back far more easily than other casters. If you can say the phrase, "I cast Eldritch Blast," without stuttering, you're just going to be fine with this class. I'm not sure why you would, but if you think of spellcasters as guns, the Warlock holds just a few bullets, but they can reload really quick. And finally, the Sorcerer. Metamagic is the key concept here. It's the way sorcerers modify their spells. They are more about customizing to take advantage of a more restrictive spell list than the wizards get. Both warlocks and sorcerers are meant to be somewhat special in the game world, as their powers are somewhat unexplained to varying degrees. From the point of view of an individual campaign, talk to your DM and see what kind of magic you can cook up. Alright folks, I always try to be honest with you. I don't want to get into edition wars, but going through this list I realized something. Today's D&D character class list, it's just better. Yes, there are weak spots, but elf literally used to be a class as well as a race. Now that was all the way back in first edition, but even in advanced, where I started, Paladin, Bard, and Barbarian were essentially unplayable without significant allowances or modifications. That said, I had a lot of fun with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. Like any game, it's more about who you're playing with than the quality of some set of rules. I want to thank you all for stopping by and listening to my opinion on classes. If you're new to D&D, it is really an amazing game. Please, if you have a bad experience, give it another try under different conditions. The friends I've made playing this game continue to be the best friends I have. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. You deserve the best. Cheers.